Hi there, my name is Dimitris Charalampidis and I'm a mathematics teacher. Up to date, so far, I have created around 782 videos with math, which are math related, covering content from grades 7 to grades 12 for both IB, for both AP frameworks. This time, however, this is my first video referring specifically to math teachers and in general to teachers. What's the purpose of that? I'm going to use the AI and specifically the ChatGPT to create detailed, personalized, and thoughtful comments for my upcoming report cards. So I will present the whole process in details. I will present and I will reflect on the reasoning of that process and all that through worked examples. So let's begin with a clear task. I need to write comments for my students that will be used in the upcoming first term report cards. And let me give you some background info. This year, I'm serving as a full-time mathematics teacher. I'm teaching 5 different classes, which adds around 90 and something students in total. So I need a comment for each one of them. The school has provided us teachers with some guidelines on how to write a comment. And another thing that you should know is that I work in an American international school, but I come from Greece, which means that I'm not a native English speaker, which also means that I have to be extremely careful both when phrasing my thoughts and with my syntax. So I'm going to use the ChatGTP, the GPT, and the free version to do that. In my first prompt, I need to inform the chat of what I'm about to do and provide it with all this essential information that it needs to follow so that it starts helping me in the creation of the comments. So I'm presenting myself by saying, hello, I'm a mathematics teacher about to give comments for the end of the first term. These are the things you need to have in mind. And basically, right now, I just copied down the PDF, which was provided by the school. That PDF included words and phrases such as able to construct, able to determine, able to extend, able to research, can adapt, has achieved, is proficient in that, does not demonstrate, does not always demonstrate, successful interprets, and so on. So I'm gonna copy paste all that. I'm gonna copy paste that. I'm gonna go to a new tab in ChatGTP and I will put all this info. Chat is always polite and is always direct. Its response is understood. Share the student descriptions and I'll craft concise comments based on the provided guidelines. This means that although I can already go and say, okay, the first student is Dimitris, he does this and that, I have a tendency in all my comments to keep writing a small paragraph in the beginning, which basically describes in a concise way the content that we have learned throughout the term. So instead, I wanted to include that in all the comments. So I have to keep feeding the AI, this machine, chat in this case, with all this information. So I am sharing with it exactly this info. Hold on. The next comments will all be on the students, in this case for my AP pre-calculus class. So I wanted to start all of them with the following phrase. Over the course of the first term, we completed Unit 1, which was focused on the key concepts of A rock, I rock, monotonicity, concavity, and so on. So I'm going to copy paste that as well. And I'm going to plug it in Once I do that, you see again, instantly it says, got it. Share the student descriptions and I'll include that opening phrase for each comment. At this point, I want you to understand something. At this point, one can be ready. So I can go on and say, okay, the next student is Eleftheria. She works hard. She understood at a decent level. She takes notes, has a tendency to be distracted in conversations with her peers. She asks questions and she is advised to double check her work. So these were my initial comments. I would put them and the GPT chat, based on the given information so far, would create a comment that you look, it starts with what I told it to start. Over the course of the first term, we completed unit 1 of our syllabus, focused on the key concepts, all that. Now it makes it personal. Eleftheria works hard and has demonstrated a decent understanding of the material. She takes notes consistently and asks thoughtful questions, showing engagement with the topics. However, she has a tendency to become distracted during conversation with her peers. It is recommended that she double checks her work to ensure accuracy and maintain focus during class activities to further improve her performance. An excellent comment. It has the fluency in English, which I like, and it makes it in a way that syntax looks great. But once I started doing that for 10 students, and remember, I have already 19 that I need to do that, I realized two things. First of all, I was writing pretty much the same as the chat. In rare cases, more than it, but in any ways, I would write a lot of things. And secondly, I started realizing that I was constantly moving around certain qualitative characteristics. And these were the student's understanding, the student's completion of homework, the student's concentration in class, the student's note-taking, her participation in subject-related discussions, and her collaboration with me. And finally, I would end my comment with future suggestions. Each single time, my comments were always around these characteristics. I wouldn't include all of them for each student, but I was constantly over them. So then it hit me. I had this idea. Why not, let's say, coding all these things I normally say? What I did to help me out in this coding process, I took each one of these characteristics, the understanding, and I derived it in sub-levels. So with regards to understanding, I set up the U0, which would mean that the student faced difficulties with the content taught. Then it was U1. Students showed reasonable understanding. Then it was U2. Student displayed deep understanding. Then it was U3. Student demonstrated thorough conceptual understanding. Then we had the homework. H0, student rarely does any homework. H1, the student completes homework, but not in a consistent way. H2, student does homework on a regular basis. Then it was the concentration in classroom. And let me change that and underline that. With regards to concentration in classroom, D0 would mean the student is distracted to irrelevant conversations. D1 would mean that the student is not concentrated in the learning process. And D2, that the student stays focused in class. Then it was about note-taking. and 0 means the student does not take any notes, and 1, the student should improve his/her note-taking, and 2, student keeps excellent notes. Participation in class. P0 stands for the student does not participate in class discussions with regards to subject. P1 means the student participates in class discussions only when asked. P2 means the student willingly participates in class discussions and offers herself on board. P3 means the student participates actively in class and helps the class move forward with his/her questions and answers. Collaboration. Q0 means the student never asks for clarification or help when needed. Q1 would mean that the student asks for help and clarification sometimes, but not always. Q2, student feels confident to ask for help and guidance whenever is needed. And finally, some suggestions. S1 would mean that the student is advised to regularly review materials. S2, that the student would work on improving the conceptual understanding and spend more time on why, not just on how. S3 would mean that the student should seek for the teacher's help for more guidance. And finally, that S4 would mean that the student should double check his/her answers because the student has some tendency for careless mistakes. Once I came up with all that, I included them in a big text. And let me copy that. And I went back to the chat and I said, you know what? Take into consideration all this. Once again, it responded back with, okay, I understood that, provide the codes for each student. But I was not done yet because, okay, now we have sort of a coding, but what if it forgot the initial words, the initial phrases? And what if it produces similar comments? So I made sure that it will also remember that. So I created a final prompt that said, one last thing, based on the description I will be giving you, I want you to produce a comment and then apart from my suggestions, suggest as well a way for the students to improve and make sure your comments are created with a plurality of words and use as words from the instructions. Again, it said, got it, provide the codes. So I have all the initial notes in front of me, the ones with the levels of each category. So let's see how it works. Next is Dimitris. What do I know about Dimitris? Dimitris has, with regards to understanding, he has developed some reasonable understanding, but not a deep one yet. So I would say that he's a U1 for now. With regards to homework, he tries. He is consistent, but he doesn't always do the homework. So it would be based on what I said before, an H1. Is he distracted in peer conversations? Well, not exactly in peer conversations, but I would say that from what I have in mind for Dimitris is that he's lost in his own space. So D1 is a better fit for him. Then, with regards to the notes, whoa, I see him taking excellent notes. I don't know why he's not using them, but I see him taking excellent notes, but not always. So, improve note taking, no, I'll go with excellent notes in this one. Then, with regards to the participation, like I told you before, it's that type of student who prefers to, who's isolated in his own mind. He's just taking notes, but he needs to be reminded. Go on, Dimitris, tell us the answer. Tell me this, tell me that. So he participates only when prompted. So I would say P1 for now. What are the quick suggestions I would want him to do? I would want him to review his materials. I see him writing notes, but I want him to review them. And I would need from him to seek for my help when needed. Also, Is he doing any questions? Is he participating in class subjects? No, we've said that, but also he doesn't come to find me. Never does that. So that would be a Q0. These were my thoughts on that. Now, even if someone says this is not a personalized way, how come it's not a personalized way? With the old way, I would have simply written 3 or 5 of these characteristics. Now I have included all qualitative characteristics on him. His participation, his understanding, his note-taking, his distractions, his suggestions. So next is Dimitris, and that was my coding for that. And look now what happens. And the answer taken by the chat. Over the course of the first term, we completed Unit 1 of our syllabus, focused on the key concepts of AROC and IROC, monotonistic concavity of a function, explored the end behavior of a graph through limits, the vertical and oblique asymptotes of a rational function, and worked on expanding binomials and graph transformation. Dimitris has shown reasonable understanding of the material, but would benefit from a deeper engagement with the concepts. While he keeps good notes, his homework completion is inconsistent, and he struggles to stay focused in class. Exactly what I had in mind. Dimitris participates in discussions only when prompted and does not seek clarification or assistance when needed. It is suggested that Dimitris regularly review the material to strengthen his understanding and spend more time reflecting on why mathematical processes work, not just how. Additionally, he is encouraged to seek the teacher's help for further guidance and to confidently ask for assistance whenever unclear. To improve, Dimitris should aim to complete homework consistently, actively engage in class discussions, and review his notes daily to consolidate his learning. And that is the comment that I will use for Dimitris. Let's say another student. Next is Yorgos. Next is, let's call George. George, in my eyes, is a perfect student. So he has developed some thorough understanding. He does always his homework, so it would be at H2. He is always there, stays focused in class, takes excellent notes, and two, not only he participates in class, but often he even corrects me and he does some critical thinking questions that help everyone in the class move forward. So he would be a P3. He's always feeling confident to ask for help. Should he review his materials? He's doing all fine in the summative. Should he seek for help? He does that. Should he double check his work? I would want him to improve, even work more on the conceptual understanding. So my coding for George would be that. And let's see. Again, always the GPT starts with the same paragraph over the course of the first term, exactly what I told you to do. Let's see the comment now. George has demonstrated thorough conceptual understanding of the material and completes homework regularly. He stays focused in class, keeps excellent notes, and actively participates in discussions, often helping the class move forward with his insightful questions and answers. Although he occasionally seeks clarification, there is room to strengthen his ability to ask for help more consistently when needed. To further improve, George should spend additional time focusing on why mathematical principles work rather than only applying methods. He is encouraged to continue his active participation and challenge himself with more complex problems to deepen his already strong understanding. Of course, we double read each comment, we see if it fits to what we have in mind, and if it does, we can keep it. If it doesn't, we can make slight changes. That was for me. Just keep in mind that I was able, through that, to complete 90 comments in about or in less than 1 hour and 30 minutes, I find my comments to be to the point because I kept detailed notes on each, let's say, criterion. They are personalized, they are detailed, and it worked. In the next video, I will show you, because I have done that in action, how we can now use these comments and get some meaningful reflections on the students, on our class, and how we can move further from there. But for now, I want you to keep in mind that I will share with everyone this Word document so that you can use it if you want and not rewriting everything from the beginning. Finally, I hope it works for you the same way it did for me. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.